Hello? Hello?
Hey, Chuck, we hear you.
Good. Sorry, I was struggling there for a minute.
That's okay. We have you. I think we'll just give everybody a couple more minutes. There's a lot of people logging in right now, and then we'll get started. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to NCCMA's first webinar. Just a few house rules to go over as we still have lots of people coming onto the call, and it's great to see so many of your faces already. If possible, be on mute except for the panelists. The panelists can unmute so that they can talk freely. We are going to reserve about 20 minutes at the end for questions and answers. And if you have questions, you can just send me a chat off to the side so that I can review them, and then I'll give them to the panelists as we go along. We do plan on sending out afterwards the recording of this webinar for everyone, as well as some supplemental material from each one of the panelists. So some of the menus or standard operating procedures, if that interests you, we're going to try and compile that, and then Kate Scott will send that out to everybody with the webinar. It may be best if you want to be in speaker view so you can see which panelist is talking to you at any given time. And obviously feel free to hop on and off as needed of the call. We really value and appreciate everybody's time for what I think is a pretty important subject to hear what the area clubs are doing. So we're gonna jump right into it. We're gonna have each of the panelists give you just a quick hello, who they are, what club they work at, what type of takeout they are currently doing, and some of the usage of that takeout. So Steve, why don't you start us off?
Sure. Steve Lawson from Washington Golf and Country Club. We have been doing the takeout program for dinner only since March 24th. We grew into it when the social distancing kind of was pushed out on the 13th. We did lunch and dinner on the week of the 17th and quickly realized that lunch wasn't working well. And now we're dinner only, and our members are using it pretty heavily. We're averaging about $4,000 a day, which we're not really charging a tremendous amount or looking for a great profit, more of a member service at this point. And we've been doing that and growing little things into it, which I'm sure we'll get into this afternoon. So thank you.
Excellent, Steve. Chris?
Yeah, my name is Chris Glaubitz. I'm the food and beverage director at Congressional Country Club. Similar to Steve, we started with a lunch and dinner concept that we were offering once social distancing started. Then once the quarantine in place went into effect, we went into a dinner only service option, and we'll get into the details of how we're executing that. But our daily volume is around 88 covers, which is 25 member orders. We've seen that jump to as high as 55 member orders. And then as far as sales volume, that's anywhere from $2,500 up to $5,000, depending on the day, with Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays being the predominantly busiest day for us.
Excellent. Thanks, Chris. Laura?
Hi, Laura Gaige, Director of Catering at Columbia Country Club. We started our program on Easter weekend, so we kicked it off on Good Friday and had great sales on Friday and Saturday of that, and kind of just use that as a pilot to see if we wanted to do it going forward. And the response was great, so we started it this past weekend. We do Thursday through Sunday only, kind of with an a la carte menu and some family style items. We average, our Thursday, Friday wasn't as busy. We averaged about 120 covers with sales around 2,200. And then on Sunday, or excuse me, Saturday and Sunday, kind of doubled that. We had around 300 and then around 4,500 in sales.
Excellent. And then Chef Doug?
Hi, I'm Douglas Anderson, Army Navy Country Club. We are doing a weekend feed, a family style, Thursday through Saturday. We also have an a la carte restaurant that's been open on the turn, which is also a sports bar that does to go Monday, every day of the week, actually. Opens at 8, closes at 5 p.m. We're actually opening our marketplace this week, and in Fairfax, we're doing a la carte also, where they pick it up, don't enter the building, but on a side window. And they are also doing family meals on weekends.
Excellent. Thank you, Chef. And so what we're going to talk about now is a little bit about the philosophy of each one of the programs. And I'm not certain if everybody could hear from where they're from, but Laura, we'll start with you from Columbia. What was Columbia's philosophy when they wanted to implement Takeout? What was the goal of that?
The goal of it was really just to give back to the membership. We just wanted to provide them with the service. Since the club is closed, we're still collecting dues. And just wanted to, provide something to the membership.
Excellent. Chris from Congressional, what was kind of your takeout? And Chris, a little bit more, as we were kind of joking with one another earlier, at the breadth involved with Congressional's takeout, but maybe just kind of review that expansive offering that you guys have, and what was the philosophy around why you chose to do so many different variations of takeout?
So we'll start. The philosophy was first employee safety and team member safety, as well as member safety. We also wanted a long-term solution that we could either expand as it warranted based off the issues that we were facing, or that we could pull back. So we started with approximately 10 core team members, kind of keeping with the same idea that we didn't want more than 10 people in one place at a certain time. So we are now keeping with the 10 people, but we do offer the 7 days a week for lunch, or I'm sorry, 7 days a week for dinner. We also have a pantry selection that we're offering. We did dabble in the heat and serve, so that they could reheat it once they got home. That was not very popular for us, so we've kind of abandoned that. We do a daily feature that's rolled out, and then we have a pretty expansive beverage option that includes the kits, certainly a 3-tiered selection on beers, and then also a pretty good variety of the wine list. And so the philosophy was, we knew that the membership would support it, so that we had to have something that we could execute with some high level of efficiency.
Mm-hmm. And Steve, was that different for you, or did you find the same? As Chris had just mentioned, he found some issues with the option of kind of serving to reheat. It sounds like everything Congressional does is ready to eat and hot. Did you ever dabble in that at Washington Golf, or was it always hot from day one to the members?
It's been hot since day one. We to-go food on Tuesday nights. We did a family style program prior to the COVID outbreak, and it was always part of our culture and who we were. We just kind of grew into that. And more so our philosophy, I think, when those went down, was to try and keep as many people working as long as we could, because we didn't know when we were going to close. Fortunately, we haven't had to do that, but now it's just about providing members good food done right and get them fed.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Let's dive right into the food and beverage offerings. Chef, will you talk a little bit about your food offerings? What do you find to be the most popular things that members are taking advantage of, specifically since you said you have almost like a weekly feature going Thursday? Is there one particular meal that has been just overwhelmingly has a larger response?
Well, we've done this since March, so almost everything we've done so far has sold out. So we haven't really hit that loosening of demand. We just did a crab cake beach weekend, and that was very popular with a lot of positive feedback. And we're a club with sort of a mixed membership of affluent and military. So this week we're going to do a taco night, really much lower price, see if we can get a lot of volume from that. But we have to sort of think in two different corners of the thing each time we plan it. Value has to be the key thing of our club. It always has been. And that they take it home and they love it. So and employee safety has been a huge factor here too. We've been very cautious about how we approach everything with the members and with the employees.
Fantastic. Laura, you and I, we were talking a little bit about food offerings, and you said Columbia has a little bit of a different approach in terms of how much of the breadth you're offering in your food.
Yeah, so our menu items are, we have a la carte options, and then we also have family style. So we kind of have our staple items. So we have salmon, filet, and chicken as our primary options. So we're not really offering the higher ticket items like shrimp or crab currently. Again, it was kind of a pilot program just to see how it's doing. And we're taking feedback from the members as they call in to see options that they're looking to add. So I'm sure in the next weeks or so, we'll probably be adding a couple of those items. But we're known for our chicken salad, so they can order that by the quart. And then we just really have a few entree a la carte items, and we offer 3 different family style meals, which have been really popular. And I think those will probably be rotating out each week, and we'll probably start theming those this week.
Mm-hmm. And I know particularly, we spoke about this earlier, pastry didn't seem to be a huge thing on everyone's mind. Steve, maybe a little bit about any of the pastry offerings that you're doing?
So we're doing just our a la carte dessert menu, kind of using that stock, but we're not doing anything special like birthday cakes or anything like that at this point.
Mm-hmm. And Laura, sorry, it just came in as a question. You have to ask it. Is Columbia doing ice cream to go?
Yes, we have our cow ice cream and then our mochaccino. And then the only dessert item that we have is our Columbia lemon pie as well.
Yeah, I think it gets a little ridiculous when you do 170 quarts of peppermint ice cream all in one weekend, as if they can't get enough of it. Chevy is fortunate enough, we are offering specialty cakes as well. That was a question that came up. So we are limiting down with the pastry chef the ability to have like an 8-inch cake or cupcakes. and just the flavors that we know she keeps on hand. And we do that about 48 hours in advance with the cake request. And I know a couple of us were talking about how can we do that more effectively as people are still celebrating a lot of different occasions. Chris, you started talking about Beverage though, and I know as you're a Montgomery County counterpart that's now allowed to sell retail, I'm sure Jeff is super excited about what he's able to do. So will you talk a little bit about what you guys decided to offer?
We did. We decided to offer as much of our normal wine by the glass program as we could. We've sprinkled in a few other things that that Jeff was working on in terms of some of the wine programming. We've also offered a pretty large selection of our beer program, and we've got Trevor Mowers, our Founders Pub manager, and he's got a great selection of beers. And so he's kind of taken a 3-tiered approach to that with some of the craft beers that we had. And initially it was really about moving some of the stock that we had in-house. And so it was expanded for that reason. And now we've actually seen what we're selling and started bringing on some new fresh product that we're getting ready to roll out this week. And then from the spirit side, we've started with kind of our core lines across all of the different varieties of liquor. And then we're also offering 3 different cocktail kits, one being the transfusion, a mimosa kit, and then as well as a Bloody Mary kit that come with recipe cards as well.
Excellent. And then Steve, you said you guys were actually batching cocktails and you found that to be a little bit more popular, already done for the members besides a kit.
Right, taking our signature drink that the club calls a freshie and bottling it in a glass 187 milliliter bottle and selling them in 4-packs. And then members call if they want cocktails, we'll also bottle those using Amazon and different, but everything's in a sealed bottle. Nothing's in a to-go cup with just a lid snapped over. It's all bottled and ready to go.
Yeah, I think protecting your brand is still key at this point in time if you decide to send anything out the door for packaging. I completely agree. We'll move into a little bit of purchasing. We're getting lots of questions, and I promise you we will get to them. They will be about employee safety and how everyone's working in that manner. We're going to first talk about purchasing, because I think purchasing is kind of driving a lot of the key decisions right now in terms of how menus are being made or what you're looking to offer. So Chef, we'll kind of start with your vantage point first, working with the vendors and how that's kind of shaped how you're making the takeout and running the club currently.
So what we did here is we reduced the amount of vendors we were going to use and condensed some of the buying into more stable suppliers. And for a couple of reasons, less trucks on the dock, less movement, and also looking at people that could actually supply us. But I'm like a commodities broker. I'm literally on the phone every day with every supplier, not my salesman, usually the guy that's in charge, because I want to know what they're going to get, how I can, I'm planning a lobster weekend, and it's something I never thought about before. I would just call in and say I need 600 lobsters. Now I've got to really make sure that I can get those tracked from Maine and get them here. So it's really being way ahead of the game. Our menus are written past into Memorial Day at this point, and they may change, and maybe we'll be open, maybe we won't, but it's really the amount of planning and communication with vendors is so key. I've got a great purchaser, and he really focused on masks and gloves and sanitizer, and he really, because that was really worrisome in the beginning, but he was doing whatever he could do, and we were in masks from day one, and gloves and sanitizer. So it was sort of a dual partnership. I did food, he did all the other stuff we don't think about, toilet paper and what have you. So it all worked out. But condensing suppliers, I think, is key. Talking to your suppliers daily is super key, and really realizing that, you may not get what you want. And it's kind of being through a hurricane. It's, certain things are just not around.
Yeah, we spoke about earlier, and, I've heard Steve mention it. The takeout packaging is an essential part of this equation on how do you run an effective program. And you almost are always looking for the best takeout container as you design the dishes, right? Everyone knows a takeout kit is 9 pieces of to-go containers if you're doing that right with everything that goes into it. And so a lot of it right now in the marketplace, I think, is being flexible because, pretty soon brown paper bags are going to go out of stock, or the same to-go packaging you thought you were using forever, 2-ounce ramekins, those are not going to be available. And I think if the club is lucky enough to stockpile as much as it can for the foreseeable future, it's wise to do so, because if you're doing the type of numbers that Congressional or Columbia or any of these clubs are doing, it's going to be very easy to run out of product and not be able to get it in as fast as you think. A Chris, from the perspective that you guys are running that pantry, eggs and milk, I've seen, has that relationship changed with some of those vendors? How you've been doing it?
No, very similar to what Chef just said. I mean, we're reaching out to the vendors on a daily basis. We're changing what some of those products are on a regular basis. So just being flexible, I think, is key for our program right now. And similar, our chef is really taking more of the food purchasing on himself. And then our purchaser is also doing a lot of this stuff from home in terms of coordinating everything else that we need in terms of supplies.
Yeah, and not something we talked about in detail in our run through, but I am curious with those of us that are running a weekly menu, or you're only offering it a couple days a week, what are you doing with any of the leftover food? Do you find that culinary is just, you know, taking ground beef from the taco kit and writing meatloaf on next week's menu? Or are you guys, any of you donating to local area food shelters or hospitals? Out of curiosity, how are you keeping that car stock low? Steve, you want to jump in?
Sure. We still have the obligation to kind of do staff meal for the green staff, tennis staff, so we're able to use some of it in that fashion. We're still running, in addition to the a la carte menus and the family style offerings, daily specials. So reincorporating and just trying not to waste as much as we can.
Mm-hmm. Laura, you guys doing anything at Columbia? Are you donating or?
No, same as Steve. We donated at the beginning when we weren't sure what we were doing, and we, you know, donated all the food that we had and then kind of restocked as we developed our menu.
Mm-hmm. That makes perfect sense. So let's go into the actual takeout process now. And we talked a little bit earlier about the ordering and how people are ordering, and there's different methods for membership to get a hold of each one of the clubs to do that. So we'll start with the two clubs that are, interestingly enough, only using phone call system in order to handle the orders from the members. So Chris, why don't you talk a little bit about that process, like what time a member can call in, who's manning your phones, and how you kind of schedule for all of that.
Yeah, we did not have the technology in place prior to this where members were ordering online previously. So they were used to calling on the phone and placing orders. And so we kind of kept with that concept. We do have someone working the front desk from 10 to 8 o'clock every day. And then we have one of our food and beverage managers working the phones, taking the orders from 11 to 2 is the only order time. So we cut off orders after 2 o'clock. And then all the orders are placed and delivered to the kitchen.
Now, Chris, do you really cut off orders? Because we all know that a member is calling it 50. Do you really cut orders off, or do you just take it on a case-by-case basis with the chef?
We do have to cut them off. We have run into a couple issues where people will call after the fact, and as long as Chris doesn't answer the phone, then usually we're pretty good about sticking to that. But they don't like to have me answer the phone for that reason. But yeah, we try to stick to it as best we can. We continue to try to communicate and educate the membership in terms of why we are doing it that way. And so we've continued to see demand increase to the point we're now looking at possibly adding a second person on the phones to be able to take those orders. Right now, it's just been one individual from 11 to 2.
Mm-hmm. Do you experience that people tend to call in like at 1:30, like the very last minute, or is it pretty evenly spaced for you?
It really varies by day. Some days will start off where the majority of the calls come in right at the beginning and then all at the end. Some days it's kind of in bulk. So we haven't really seen a rhyme or reason for the call-ins right now. But, the busier the day, then obviously the further into the afternoon those calls go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then on the flip side, Columbia, right, Laura, you guys are doing all by phone as well.
Yeah, so similar to Congressional, we didn't have any online ordering system in place. Our members are used to calling in their orders. So we have orders are taken each day for the day. So you have to have their order before 4 o'clock. So we take orders between 12 and 4 for a 5 to 7 pickup. So there's 2 people manning the front desk, taking the orders. And then we're just kind of updating the kitchen, on a 15-minute, half-hour basis, kind of as they come in.
So you're not really ringing in orders as they come in. You're just telling them the kitchen by just count, hey, this is what we're at for the day.
Yeah, so we have an online order form that the menu that they have. So we just print out the menu, write the member number, member name, type of car that they're picking up in and their pickup time. So we also do 15-minute pickup times. And so we'll ask them what time they'd like to pick up, and then we close off time. So if they want 5 o'clock, we'll suggest 5:15. Or if they want 6 o'clock, we'll do 5:45 or 6:15. and just kind of close it off in that way. And then we just make copies of the orders and then give it to the kitchen. So we both have our copies. And then our pickup process is the kitchen copy goes with the order.
And just to verify for everybody on the phone call, when you are taking these phone calls, are you and the other person, you're not sitting in the same office? Are you in different?
We're both at the front desk, but across the front desk from each other. So we set up another station and set up another phone line. So we are socially distant.
Perfect. So you're socially distancing.
And we're also wearing masks.
Still wearing gloves and masks too. Yes, I'm sure. And we're going to jump into those safety measures here in a minute. So Army, Navy, and Washington Golf are using online ordering processes. And Chef, why don't you start first? You made a comment earlier that your club was very used to doing the online ordering.
Yeah, our members, because it's a large membership, we've driven it that way since we've had it. So they're more used to that than the call-in situation. On the grab-and-go restaurant, they tend to call in because they'll be on the course and they'll say, hey, I'm coming in 10 minutes. I want a chicken sandwich or what have you. But all the big family feeds for the drive have all been through a system. So we know where we're at and we limit it so we don't get the driveway so crushed or backed up.
Mm-hmm. And Steve, you said you were using Jonas Online, and I said that was just an endeavor that Chevy took on. And so learning the hiccups of that
Right, yeah.
and how to work.
We were part of the beta testing on that Jonas app ordering, and we've kind of worked through our bugs. Our membership coordinator has done a great job kind of keeping that going. So the members can order on the app. They can order just going by directly to the website and filling out one of the online forms, and that submits an email straight to the front desk. And the members can still call in to the front desk and place an order also.
And I think our experience has been, and for those clubs that do use Jonas was offering 3 months free of the online ordering once COVID happened, and sent that out to all the area clubs. It was about a 2-week waiting list in order to get it up and running for your facility. But I can tell you it's quite an easy process to take menu items on and off as you need to. So if you run out of something later in the week, you can make a quick adjustment and it immediately reflects to the website. It can hold photos. It's a pretty intuitive system that could either fire directly to your kitchen. Steve just mentioned you're letting it go to an email. So you're controlling the orders before they actually go into the system. But it was originally designed for on the turn so that somebody could be on the golf course, shoot an order, and it would already be in the kitchen. But a really neat system that I think offers members a lot of flexibility if you're doing the online ordering process. So now let's talk the logistics, because that's what everybody wants to know. Chef, you start first in terms of, how many team members are you bringing in? How do you socially distance them and keep them safe inside of your facility? What other protocols do you have when they first clock into work?
Well, we do our briefing in the actual ballroom because it's the best way for us to social distance or physically distance, because we don't want to socially distance from our staff. And we give them, the other fortunate thing about this club is it has multiple kitchen floors. So everybody gets their own 8-foot table and ample room. We really talk constantly about, the social distancing aspect, wearing the mask, wearing the gloves, the sanitizer. And then as far as it relates to the members, when we do the big family feed, we take over the lobby, put tables down there, hot boxes, and we bag as we go. And, there's no interaction with the member. They pop the back of their car, the trunk, we place it in there. We do it by member number. There's no signature, and they drive off. There's actually, it works really well, keeps everybody safe internally and externally.
Do you take temperatures at all? I know that's a question that's come up. Any club currently taking temperatures on their employees?
Well, it was kind of interesting. On Easter, we did a Chateaubriand, and we did 4 meals per unit, and we did have temperatures in that, but there really wasn't that many. There was a couple rares and 1 medium well, but for the most part, we are not taking temperatures, but we will if they give it to us.
Makes sense. Laura, from your standpoint, how have you seen Chef Brandon work in the kitchen, or how, when it comes time for the front of the house team to come in and runners, how do you keep them safe? What are some of the safety protocols in place?
We try to have the same staff that comes in. Try not to have too many people coming in and out of the club. So it's pretty much the same team. So for prepping wise, there's usually about 3 of them that are working, again, wearing the masks and keeping their distance. And then they usually have 2 line cooks that come in to kind of complete it. And then front of house, we have 2 runners that come in unless it's a busy what we foresee as being a busy time. We'll have 3 runners come in.
Chris, from your standpoint, you had said earlier that Congressional was doing the whole thing front and back of the house with less than 10. So, which facilities are you using? And again, some of the safety measures. I'm still curious to know if any club out there, as some people have recommended, that you actually take the physical temperature of your employee when they clock in, or if you're using the same team like Columbia is doing.
We're going to start taking temperatures probably next week. We've ordered some of the equipment, so we're working with the team now. We also have a form that each team member that comes on property fills out once a week that just asks questions as far as travel. How are they feeling? Do they have any of the symptoms? So that we can track that on the front end. For us, as you mentioned, we've still kind of stuck to the smaller team format. We've got 3 front of the house team members on slower nights, and then 4 on busier nights. And then from the culinary team's perspective, there's only 1 shift that comes in, and we're running that with 4 to 5 people. That includes one person's fulfilling all pantry orders. We have a steward, and then we have 3 line cooks. For us, we've kept all of our salary managers active, and so all of those that are working the line now are salaried sous chefs, pastry chef, banquet chef. And then the front of the house are assistant general manager, food and beverage director, food and beverage manager, and then a outlet manager.
All right, Steve, anything that you can add in of how Washington Golf is doing anything in safety measures? And I am curious, right? We all have runners. You need runners in order to take things to the car. And sometimes the runners are big, right? They can have food and they have beverage on them. So in that case, when it takes more than one hand to get out to a car, how is that being done safely?
Much like Chris, it's all of the salary managers who are doing the food delivery process. Our stations are set up throughout the clubhouse in a way that if you're in your station, you're pretty much social distance from the next person. We don't let them get out of their car when they come up. We get everything for the member when they do it, and we do our best. The kitchen, we work out of our banquet kitchen on the upper level of the clubhouse, which is a little larger than the downstairs kitchen. And much like Doug said, they have the space to kind of live in their own environment and get the food together. And we package in the ballroom and just use the clubhouse space in a totally different way than we ever had before.
Yeah, and I think the only thing, from Chevy's perspective, or what I can offer you, is I can tell you that Serve Safe, obviously the food handling safety that all of the team members need to have, they're offering an additional certification complimentary that's on COVID. Now, granted, it's a 10-minute video that you can watch, but that's something we had all our front of the house team members and back of the house team members do. So from a member's perspective, we could say, hey, there's an additional certification and each one of our team members has that. I think it's a lot of communication. So, right, 2 people can't go to the freezer door at the same time and pull it open. They have to be able to say, I'm going here first and then you go here next. Or when we're expoing food orders, 1 runner at a time coming up to the table, packaging that, and then headed out. So it can be tricky. It just needs to be a lot more in communication. And then I do think an advantage that a lot of these country clubs have already said is that their facilities are larger. And when you have a larger facility, you can separate people a lot more easily, but also you have people doing things that not necessarily are in their job description probably as well during this time when you don't have as many active employees. So we'll jump to relationships in a minute, but I really want to hear, and Laura, I'll let you start. Really, logistics, if you can, for us and for everybody out there. Tell us again the times of your takeout, how it's being operated. So if they need to call ahead and then pick up at a certain time, and if you're assigning pickup times, are you firing the food, and then how does that food get out to the member? So the whole process, so that it makes sense for somebody from point A to point Z. How is it occurring?
Sure. So our whole process is the member calls in between 12 and 4. At that time, there's always those that do call in at 4:15, 4:30, 5 o'clock. So we can take those orders. We kind of did the cutoff at 4 o'clock, knowing that we would have some of those that would call in. And then anytime after 5 o'clock, we usually just check with the chef to see if they have that available. We have order sheets for the food, and then we also have an order sheet for their wine. So we currently are offering half-price wine. Once we make those copies, we keep the wine copy, take the food copy to the kitchen. Then once it's time, we have we're using our banquet kitchen upstairs, so they do pull in the front circle. We get their car make the model and the color of their car. So when they do arrive, we do go ahead and we try to identify them and then put their food in their car. But then once the food is brought out, so in the kitchen, we'll have an expediter, and then we have someone that's bringing it out to the tables that we have in the front. We have heat lamps. It's usually, chef usually tries to put it out about 5 or 10 minutes prior to the pickup time. And then again, their food order with their name and member number is there again in the car. So when there's a manager that's out front under the portico that it confirms that the member, their last name, so they're radio into us, and then the runners move it out to the car.
Excellent. That's very detail driven, especially because you're telling members when to come. So your chef does have to fire off as needed for that. He's not just firing off everything at the beginning of the pickup and just putting it in a hot box. He's literally doing it by the times people are coming.
Yes, correct. So it's coming off the line. So we do pick up between 5 and 7. We do 15-minute pickup times, and we only do 8 people per pickup time. So if they're interested in picking up at 5:15, and if that time slot's full, we'll move it to a different time. On occasion, someone will call and ask if they can pick up at 6 o'clock. They'll call and say, I'm supposed to pick up at 7. Can I come at 6:45? So we just confirm if that's okay.
Got it. Steve, will you walk us through yours?
Sure. Ours is much similar to what Laura is doing. We offer the pickup time on a la carte, and chef and the expediters fire that and bring it out to a station in the ballroom with heat lamps. We're blessed to have the portico and the kind of driveway up front where we can double lane. So we don't restrict the pickup times, kind of let the members tell us what time they're going to pick up. They can order their family style meal starting at 7 p.m. the night before, and it cuts off at 5 o'clock. But the a la carte menu actually goes, they could call in an a la carte menu off of the a la carte up until 7 p.m. that day. So the pickup times and the arrangements of expediting and food running is very similar to what Laura's doing. The only exception is they can online order the night before for the next day for the family meal.
And so for you, Steve, you're not assigning a time, so you don't really care what time they come. So I want to make sure I heard that right. Like Chevy's is 5 to 7, and we don't give members a time. They literally drive up through the portico. They're required to put their member name and number on the dash on the passenger side. And then as they come up, a greeter just calls and then calls it back. Is that what I hear?
They can pick up between 5 and 7. That's what we ask for them to do. They roll down their passenger window and just tell us their member name, and we run back inside and grab their order. As long as it's been fired and it's where it's supposed to be, great. If it's not, we ask them to pull up a little bit further and off to the side so we can keep the process moving.
Yeah, I don't really think between all our clubs it really matters what rules you give your members. They're going to do what they want anyway.
Sure.
Tell them to be safe, not to roll down their windows and to talk to us. And CDC came out and said it can be spread over talking, but even then you can never prevent them from saying hello to the person who's there greeting, because they just need that social interaction. But Chris, you have a gate, so yours is much different from everybody else's. How do you utilize that gate to help the operation?
Yeah, our order time is 11 to 2. Once the orders are cut off, we put a summary sheet to the kitchen so they know exactly what items have been ordered for the day. We also have a pantry form that goes to one of the culinarians, so they're pulling all the pantry, putting that in one of our banquet refrigerators, and then another individual who's pulling all of the liquor, beer, and wine together. And again, those are all pulled separately, and then we ask that they reserve a time as well. We don't really block that unless we feel like we need to, but we pick up between 4 and 7. The guard gate does get a list of the members who have ordered that night and the time that they've ordered, so they'll pull through the front gates. We'll stop the car, get a member name, make and model of the car. The guard gate radios to us at the front portico. Who it is, we'll have the order typically ready for them when they pull through. We'll have a double lane system as well. So if their food's not ready, another car can pull through. And that's worked out really well for us, being able to have the gate identify who's coming. And our driveway is long enough that typically, even if we're running food from our lower level kitchen, we can get the food from the lower level to the portico by the time they get there. And so it's literally coming off the food line to their cars. And again, asking the members to open the back trunk. So we'll put the items in the back.
Yeah, so far I've heard, and we'll go, Doug, to you next, but no one's making anyone sign chits, correct?
No.
Right, no change of the pen, nobody's making people sign chits. And then Chris, how long do you think on average a member is waiting to get their order? What's the longest someone you think has experienced waiting to get it?
You would have to ask this after our busiest night last night. Last night, yeah, we ran a little bit long last night with the volume of orders that we had. But generally, there is no wait time. We're similar to that in that we fire the items 10 or 15 minutes before their expected arrival, and then once they get there, the food's already ready for them. So typically, there's no wait time. But I would have to admit, last night we ran a little bit long with some of those ticket times.
Yeah, definition of ticket time is going to change, right?
Yeah, but fortunately for us, the membership has been super supportive in what we're doing and very patient with the process. So they're just appreciative and grateful that we're offering what we are offering. So that's been a blessing too.
Agreed with that. Doug, will you talk a little bit, Chef, about what you do? When you explained it earlier, like how do you just come up with a concept like a taco night and then you just take a guess at how many people are coming and you just allow people to pull through and pick up, or you do take orders?
We take how many meals we're going to sell. We cook the food in waves in the banquet kitchen, take it down to the lobby, which we've converted somewhat into a kitchen during these feeds. And we have also the luxury of a dual driveway. So when a person comes in, they'll radio one meal, a 6-pack of this, one of our beverage containers, and they will have it out to the car in the trunk, only take a member number, 4 minutes tops. So it's so fast. I've not yet seen a backup, even on Easter, of any cars whatsoever. On the a la carte restaurant, they call that in, they walk around the side because they can't enter the clubhouse. They enter that restaurant and they pick their orders up on a table. Once again, member numbers, a plexiglass in front of the order taker if they should physically decide to order. But it's all pretty seamless, and we've been doing it for a while now, so our members are in sync, and it all works out pretty well.
Yeah. Chef, do you have any walk-up orders, I'm curious, in your a la carte facility? Do you allow for that, or do they have to order in advance before they come pick it up?
Most of them, even before this ever happened, would call in their orders anyways, because our turn is a little bit of a distance from the restaurant. But we might have one or two that walk up and say, oh, I'll take 3 hot dogs and this. But the physical distancing is built in. We built a table, a pickup table, and put, like you see in the grocery stores, a plexiglass. So the employees are quite safe.
Anybody get a drive-through customer, essentially? Somebody who just comes in out of the chance that they need something for the night and you're able to accommodate it? Steve, does that ever happen?
So we have a cage in the front door that has a lot of wine stock in it. So we're getting a lot of brew-through customers that are just driving up and saying what's a good price and hand-selecting wine. So, and occasionally we'll get the member who thinks they ordered and didn't. So we deal with that.
Can we coin that new term though, brew-through? I mean, I think that's ingenious. The brew-through. So a couple of us, we were trying to understand, and specifically, wanted Laura in on this part of the call from Columbia. I know we have a couple special events directors on the line as well. Kind of some of those +1 touches that you're putting into Takeout, just little things that you can do for the family or just to be thoughtful at this time frame. So Laura, you wanna start first with some of that? I know you did something for Easter, and then what you're doing right now.
Yes, right now we are kind of implementing as we go along. We're adding a little note that says, thanks for all the love and support from the Columbia family, just because they really are supporting the program that we're putting out, and we're so grateful for it. And then with the kids, there's been a lot of members that are just ordering food for the kids, which has kind of been fun. So we'll also add, like little coloring kits or, kind of a Happy Meal-ish sort of, without really being a Happy Meal, but something fun for the kids to do, a little craft for them to do. And then from Easter, we did coloring kits also, and then had like little Easter eggs for and then instructions on how to do a hunt. So we'll do little things like that.
Fantastic. And then Steve, you were talking about some wine videos or some things that you're doing daily as a part of the Takeout as well.
Yeah, each day there is a daily special wine, and we put out that with a video through the push notification, and we email it in the blast as well. We did some candy in the carryout boxes for Easter, but not much more than that.
Chris, anything from your side that you guys are doing?
We're doing handwritten thank you notes that go into the to-go orders when members go out. The coloring kits, we've done some of that for the kids' orders as well. For Easter, we did a basket per car with the Easter egg candies and Easter eggs baskets, and then Congressional Easter coloring concept. But we're still looking at definitely adding some options to that. We're continuing to try to see how much of that we can do with the existing personnel. And so that's kind of that balance of once we start adding some more of those nice small touches, we start expanding the capabilities of the core team that we have now. And so we're just continuing to look at ways to make that happen for the members.
Absolutely. And then any creative marketing that's happening at Army Navy, Chef, specifically because you have the dual clubhouses?
We are. I know our child education person is putting together kits that they're sending out. Our wine sales, we do separately also, or with the meals, but we do it 1 to 4. And we're doing wine educational programs as we were doing right before all of this physically, but now online. And we just selected chocolates actually for our Mother's Day event. And we were doing Easter candy for Easter, sort of an unexpected wow. They didn't know it was in the bag.
Excellent. And so what does everybody, as we jump into relationships, and we've all kind of touched upon it, we're doing this with less people, or just the active employees, or just the salaried managers. So, what does the day-to-day look like? Do you have staff doing things that technically were maybe never in their job description? And, who's really responsible for continuing to drive the takeout programs at the club? And Steve, I'll give it to you first, whether you're working with the chef in conjunction, providing him content of what other places are doing, or whether he kind of hands it over and says, like, this is it.
No, very close conversation with Chef on the approach. When we first went into the shutdown kind of to-go program, we had to collaborate on where we were going to cut the a la carte menu to, and how that based on running out some inventory to eliminate food waste. And now we look at the menu on a weekly basis and make changes, either to run specials to get rid of some things in inventory, or just to change it up a little bit. The members are, if it's not on the menu and they want it, they're going to ask for it anyway. So we're going to make it. But the relationships are really changed because, I'm working with the chef for an hour at a time on where we're going to go next week. And then it's communications and our membership service coordinator on what the emails look like and where the videos go and what time are we communicating. Our catering person is certainly not doing catering, so working them in a different role and a whole different thing is, everyone is chipping in and doing whatever it takes to get through it.
Mm-hmm. Chris, what about with your team? You washing dishes yet?
I have.
Yep.
I think with the small team we have, we all have at this point. The same 3 or 4 on the front of the house. We've really kind of fallen into our own roles in terms of what that operation looks like and kind of who's handling which responsibilities within the to-go operation. Same thing from the culinary team, where we're really trying to branch out now that we've really got our core to-go process down, is expanding into the rest of the team who's not on property and trying to get them connected, whether it's from the beverage side, from the event side, the communications piece, so that they can really help us who are on at the club on a day-to-day basis to provide the member experience, to enhance the member experience. Because with the small team, again, it takes each of us every single day in working action to deliver the process.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Laura, from your team, how small is it there?
Well, really, as far as kind of doing menus and working with Brandon, it's kind of been our assistant clubhouse manager and clubhouse manager that's been working with them, kind of figuring out what they're going to do for the week. And then really, it's just been, it's been a small crew, but it's been fun. I've been working the front desk, taking orders, and, it's kind of fun. People are like, is this Laura Gaige from catering? Because we're all just doing different things. And then afterwards, it's kind of fun because we'll all go into the kitchen, make sure, like if they need help with dishes or mopping or anything like that. And then we just kind of leave. So it's just kind of been a really fun, big team effort, just having the limited staff there that we can.
Yeah, I think for any food and beverage person, leaving your club at like 7:30 at night is awkward. No? You're like, shouldn't I still be working? Especially when your accountant is emailing you at 10 p.m. You're like, wait a minute, rules have changed.
Yeah.
Jeff, from your perspective at Army Navy, anything, I mean, you guys still have, as you mentioned earlier on the call, you still have golf and tennis. So you still have a significantly large team that's still active with you and working, but have any of the roles and relationships changed for you?
I use the analogy when it all started that, I was in the Coast Guard in my youth, and when you're on a large vessel, you had less tasks to do, but when you're on a really small Coast Guard boat, you had to do everything. And we were on that small Coast Guard boat, so we all have to wash dishes, do whatever needs to be done. We also have, it's been kind of fun because we have a flip chart room in the Eagle Hall, which is a member area, which is now my meeting room. And we all sit around and we write down our ideas, and sometimes people write them down when we're not around and we'll discuss them. So the creative aspect has been really fun. Then we send it down to Patrick and Andrew, and they seem to love what we're producing because it's so collaborative, and it's part of the morale for the managers to be a part of everything we're doing, and the cooks that we still have, which are not as many, but creative wise, we're thinking of doing things that, we're actually been solicited by our members to come up with a frozen line of food. So we're trying to figure out how to do that. So it's been fun.
That's really interesting, a frozen line of foods, which kind of, we can jump into this question or segue into this is, are you going to still continue to do this even as the club and the state of emergencies gets lifted? And, I think we all agreed earlier, every club did takeout before, just maybe did it differently. So what about the takeout programs that you've developed do you like and you could see using in the future at the club when it all comes back into operation? Chris, we'll go to you first.
I think we'll probably let the membership dictate some of it in terms of we'll go back to the regular dining, but as we're limiting the dining in those spaces, there might be more demand for to-go, and so we'll look at staffing it appropriately. I definitely think we'll be looking at the technology coming up in terms of how to best facilitate this with less dedicated individuals. So the technology piece will probably be important for us to be able to continue this going forward.
That makes sense. Steve, you said you guys already, you talked about it, that you already do a Tuesday family delivery and that has always really been large. Is there anything that you're using though in the current COVID takeout that you really like and you're like, we're definitely going to use this?
I think continuing to grow the app, because the more we touch and use the app, the more convenient it becomes. And the pressure of social distancing the restaurants, I think initially the membership as a whole is going to be reluctant to kind of rush back through the door, but so we plan to continue it at least every day for the first week or so, or 2 weeks, and just kind of, as Chris mentioned, let the membership kind of dictate how they're going to use it. But I hope to continue to grow the family style because it's not a difficult process to put down out the door.
Agreed. Laura, what about from you guys at Columbia?
We've always done the to-go program where they could call into the dining room and get food to go. I could foresee this working really well for members that are hosting things at the club, or excuse me, at the homes, because currently we don't have menus for that. They would just kind of call into the kitchen and talk to the chef about what they'd like to order. And I know that they've always wanted a menu, and I know that the chef probably has always wanted to put together a menu. So I could foresee this working well for that program, but kind of going back to, regular a la carte, but again, letting them dictate what it is that they're looking for.
And then Chef, from your side at Army Navy, still going to do a continuous bulk? I mean, it sounds like you're doing a la carte takeout, but this other concept you have through the portico.
I think so. I think, when we do come out of this, it's going to be slow. It's not going to be, just a lifting of a curtain. So I think there will be a percentage of the membership that is more comfortable still staying at home. Certainly the retired folk. We always did have a strong to-go program even prior to this anyway. So I think we'll just see an upspike in the restaurants getting that once we start getting back to whatever that normal is. But yeah, we will continue it as the others stated, as long as the members drive it. And if it goes away, it goes away because the members are no longer driving it.
I agree with that. So let's get into our questions. We've got a couple of them that are coming forward, and we'll get your thoughts on these. Just by, I guess, a shake of hand. Anybody charging service charge on takeout at all?
No.
No, I think we're shaking his head. Yes, Steve, yes?
Yep, we sure are.
And so what I can tell you from Chevy's perspective, no, there's no gratuity or service on takeout. Granted, that's not our club and we don't have that in any of our operations in terms of in the a la carte spaces. Laura, is it a range? Is it what it's always been for you?
Always what it's been. So we've always had a 22% service charge and 6% tax. So that's continued. Got it.
And Chris?
Yeah, we had just converted to 20% service charge, and so we've maintained that on the items. And in some conversations that we've had with the members, they really see it as another way to help the club. They've helped it in numerous ways anyway, and so they just look at that as an opportunity to continue to support the club.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Steve, what is it? Yours the same, or has it changed?
No, we still have the 18% service charge and the tax on ours, and like Chris said, I don't think anyone's complaining now. It's just one more way to keep revenue coming through the club and offset its expenses.
Yeah, and Laura mentioned tax, and I know that's different for us in Montgomery County being allowed to sell beverage retail. I mean, I'm guessing the same in Virginia, but it's a 9% sales tax on alcohol. So it does have to be calculated out a little bit differently when you're doing retail. Okay, another question we have coming in, anybody feeding any hospitals? Anybody, I know we talked about donating earlier, but specifically, are you making a ton of meals and sending it over to a hospital?
We are not, but we will be, I think, starting soon to feed some first responders through a program one of our members brought to the GM. So I think shortly we will be preparing meals for first responders and having them go out.
We've prepared.
Go ahead, Chris.
We've prepared a meal for first responders. There's a fire station close to the club, and we've prepared meals for them on a couple occasions, or reached out to them when we had any kind of produce or products that were expiring. But on a large scale basis, again, until we start bringing back more team members, it's kind of prohibitive to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. I'll start Steve off with this question only because you made the comment and said if a member's going to ask for it anyways, we're going to make it for them. So what are the most popular items that you're asking for? What's been the craziest request that the membership is still asking you for?
I can't think of anything really crazy. We have a lot of nut allergy or vegan, vegetarian type things. And if there's any one request that's more popular than anything else, it probably would be the vegan approach or gluten-free.
Mm-hmm.
Which Chef is handling by case, no different than we would if we were open.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that answers that.
I'm guessing, Laura, most popular item, mochaccino ice cream, because I've been dying to have some. No.
And chicken salad definitely. But no weird requests. We haven't had any issues with any dietary restrictions or anything.
Chris, anything popular, not popular?
Yeah, our crab cake entrees, the top seller. We do prime rib night twice a week. Those that's our second best seller, and then of course hamburgers. Our Taft burgers are one of our top sellers as well. And we also do a homemade white chocolate ice cream that's been popular amongst the membership too.
Perfect. Chef, anything for you? The clam bake that you just did? The crab?
Yeah, the beach one was very popular. They're selling out so fast. It's hard to say which is the most popular. I think with us, it's really parting up our volume to do even more.
Anyone out there doing meal kits? So almost a little bit like Blue Apron, where you're providing almost all of the raw product, pizza kits, anything of that nature that's not already cooked off, but providing membership to do?
My banquet chef just did a film of her bread kit that she's about to launch. So she wants a video to go out so they can make the bread and watch her. And then we're going to do, come Memorial Day, some barbecue kits along with hot meals. So we are now playing with the kit idea.
Yeah, similar. We were trying to still give the membership what they could have or would have been signed up for. So we had a couple's wine and cooking class. And so we're currently looking at trying to put together a kit. So you have our assistant clubhouse manager and our chef together instructing on what to do and kind of doing the pairing and putting that all together as a kit.
Excellent. And so let's, I want us to answer this question first, and then we're going to jump into Mother's Day because I know everybody wants to hear about it. But if you could start your takeout all over again, even if it was back in March, Steve, if you could start it all over again, would you do anything differently? And then for the group that's joining us today, what are some of the best practices that you're like, yep, absolutely, if we had to, this is exactly what we would do. So let's start, Chef, let's start with you first.
I think we would have started the marketplace earlier if we had known. We're starting it now, but providing that service when, at the beginning, when stores were really struggling to keep up with demand, when we were still able to get product, I think if we had it all over again, the marketplace would have been probably the first thing I would have opened. And everything else I think we're doing is working. We just have to find ways to do more of it. And every day we're adding and adding and adding. And by the time this all ends, we'll probably be frustrated because of all these great ideas. But I think the market was our missed opportunity. We should have started it earlier.
And Chef, when you say market, just because, you know, I've got some feedback and I've looked at other area clubs, like I know that Baltimore Country Club, they have a slew of things in their market, right? They have vegetables, they have fruits. I know Congressional, you have eggs, you have milk, some people are doing steaks. So when you say market, is that what we're referring to?
All those things, including toilet paper, sanitizer, gloves, and everything that you'd mentioned, and maybe a little more actually. Our crab cake as well, because it's quite popular.
So being a grocery store, essentially.
Essentially a grocery store.
Got
it. You know, once again, we'll box it up and put it in your trunk, and you'll never step out of your car.
Yeah, makes sense for a convenience factor. Laura, what about you? Anything different or some best practices?
I think we probably just would have started earlier had we known this was going to go on as long as it has. I think we all were sick that it wasn't going to be what it is. I think that if anything, we would have just started earlier. And I think that the limited menu that we have, I think is working well for us.
Mm-hmm. Chris?
I think the best practice for us, we're kind of in the model now that we feel like we're really in a good position to be able to execute at a high level. We are to the point that if we continue to get busier, we're going to have to make again, back to that philosophy, we're going to have to make the decision, do we expand the team that's currently here to be able to facilitate the demand, or do we back off a little bit and just model it in a way that we can continue to facilitate it. Also having one point person, for us, the phones worked best because as things were changing on a daily basis, we had one person that was really kind of the go-to. So not only were they the order taker, but they were also the communication piece to the membership to be able to explain what we were now offering, what we weren't offering anymore. The pantry's been really popular to us. We continue to expand that, adding some cook and serve items. Really, you know, again, going back to having that one person on the phones. We've always done the toilet paper and paper towels and sanitizer, but it was mostly just based off of member requests because we weren't sure if we would be able to facilitate the demand. So again, having that person on the phone to be able to have the one-on-one conversations is probably the best practice for us because it's allowed us to be able to execute and communicate to the members in the best way.
Excellent. Steve?
I think one thing we didn't do well when it started was we weren't telling the members kind of what our family meal special was until the morning of. I think having more of a school style calendar of what the week is going to be, letting the members plan their week was something we could have done better and have gotten better with. And I don't necessarily believe we are marketing toward the kids as much. You know, our family meals are things like lasagna and fried chicken, which kids will eat, but there's some nights where it's not. And I think we can do better with kind of the Happy Meal approach and incorporate, you know, the family as a whole. Mom and dad can have a family meal for two while the kids get a Happy Meal, but that's what we would do differently.
Mm-hmm. And I would say, Steve, and then, sorry, because that's what you said you do differently. What about any best practices? What are the things that you're like, yep, this is great. Like, I would absolutely have this again or implement this, or just a reminder to all of our neighboring clubs out there.
I'm really proud of what our staff's been able to do with our wine to go program and how we're communicating. We're really, we're doing really well with it. The bar offerings at the door when people pull up has been well, just trying to keep people involved and engaged.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. And I think the things that, you know, we can add from the Chevy's perspective, and as I see many of my managers on this call and will probably laugh, but I heavily believe in internal as much as I do external. So my team knows the minute that they get something down, there's an SOP that better be on my desk, ready and in place. And I think that there are a lot of people who have been emailing saying, do any of us have SOPs to handle what does the takeout look like in COVID-19? So from the back of the house to the front of the house documents on some operating procedures that are put into place. And, you know, we all talked about it before we jumped on the call, that you have to be capturing and recording this information accurately. So daily ops reports are still in effect at the club with, you know, what we did well to where we messed up. And yes, Chris, last night was our busiest night too. And we certainly didn't get it right all last night either. And being truthful about that so we can build upon those things. But I think, you know, accurate recordings, we send, you know, weekly sales reports to the chef so he knows what he should put on next week, or marketing looks at how many hits of the videos that have done increasingly well. And so that's where we know to focus our efforts in the next menu or for what we're trying to do. So I think that when we go and we talked about gathering a lot of the menus and SOPs from these panelists that are on the call today, we'll gather them and then again, we'll shoot them back out with the recording for everybody so that it'll be at your fingertips and you're able to see that. Now on to the subject everybody wants to know, Mother's Day. We know that Easter and Mother's Day are very different holidays to each one of our clubs of how we look at them. And so while none of the panelists, I can tell you to include myself, admitted to having a menu, because none of us I think do, we all at least exchanged some ideas or thoughts in the directions we believed we were headed. So, and if there are some other area clubs out there, like Nick, I know you're on from Baltimore, so if you've got something, I'll unmute you and you can contribute as well. Laura, we'll start with you. What's Columbia looking at doing for Mother's Day?
We're looking to do something similar to what we did for Easter, probably more of a brunch focus. And then we're trying to enhance it a little bit by doing, you know, mimosa kits. We'll certainly have the half-price wine that we did for Easter and that we currently have. And then we also wanted to offer flowers and either as an arrangement or a bouquet that they could add on if they'd like. So we've partnered with the local florist to do that. We've also partnered with a local linen company to offer linen also. So if you kind of wanted to just do the full gamut and kind of just have a nice brunch for mom with the kids, hopefully, you know, we'll do something like that. And then we've also, we'll do the kits too, similar to what we did for Easter, have pots and flowers, seeds so that the kids can plant flowers and color a pot for their mom.
That's sweet. That's definitely very sweet. Chef, what about you at Armini?
So we were literally had all our seasonal menus pretty much written into the summer. So we literally grabbed our Mother's Day menu and extracted some of the best things. And also, as I mentioned earlier, really thinking about children as part of that meal. We're gonna do, I think at this point, it's gonna be Godiva chocolates as a little unexpected wow that will be popped into there. We're gonna do the meal for 4 people. So if they want additional, they can order 2 of them or 1.5 or what have you. But it's going to be a big brunch spread. So it's something they'll be able to take home and something hopefully for everyone on that brunch spread. But it's going to be I'm looking at it now, about 7 different dishes. So it'll look like the club brunch, except it won't be in the club.
So literally someone can order it and it'll feed 4 and you get everything that's on the menu.
It's basically a kit, and it's a hot kit. What's hot is already hot. What's cold is cold. So you could literally drive to your home, open everything up, and begin your Mother's Day brunch.
So literally, are you just going to offer that on Sunday morning of Mother's Day? Or are you going to do that on Saturday too?
On Friday, I'm actually going to do a short rib dinner. Okay. So we cover that night. And then on Saturday and Sunday, we'll do the Mother's Day.
Excellent. Chris?
We're still working through ours, but Mother's Day was kind of a good template for us. We offered a meal for 2. It was 4 courses to include appetizer, salad, a duo entree, and a duo dessert. So it kind of hit the both points of the palate there, and it was really popular. So we're going to kind of base our original menu off of that. We're doing the beverage kits. We did kind of a grocery store approach where we had kind of where you would see the last items in the checkout line. We had a beverage station set up as members' cars would pull away. And that was very popular for them to grab some last minute wine or beverage kits from them. We're also probably going to have that picked up on Saturday, and that way it'll be picked up cold. They'll be able to reheat it and come with reheating instructions for Sunday. And then we'll look at some of the add-ons is kind of where we're really focused on now is the, whether that's plants or flowers or some of the add-ons.
Steve?
Yeah, we're going to do all that stuff too. We're in the same arena. We're doing a family meal for 4, and we'll pair the menu with the mimosa program. We're looking into doing some flowers to give to the kids to plant with mom, or some type of craft kit, build a birdhouse or something. But we're still this week going to finalize a lot of those details.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say we're in the same position. I've got a call with Leanne later on this week, and I know her and her team are working on it. Flowers are definitely on our mind. We've got the horticulture team at Chevy, so we have the ability of pulling plants or having a plant out of the garden, and just trying to figure out what the +1 looks like, whether it's you can pick up Saturday, Sunday, you send the kids home and they have a tray of cinnamon buns and it goes in the oven the next morning so that there's breakfast for mom or something different. But I think figuring out a way to still make it special so that mom doesn't have to cook, but that's something that they can do with the kids, family game night, something of that. So I'm certain that there will be either on the CMA best practices or just between all of us, an email exchange going around about, when Mother's Day finally arrives, who's doing what and kind of putting that together. So Nick, I've got you from Baltimore. Do you mind if I unmute you and you can share with us some things? Awesome, go ahead.
Wonderful, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. And all wonderful ideas all around. I have a couple logistic items that are working well at Baltimore that I wanted to share. Right when we got started here, we immediately created a designated email for members to email in any to-go orders or any questions they may have, because all the food and beverage leaders have taken over on manning all the phones for the club and for every one of our members' questions. So our restaurant's called the Tap Room. We created the Tap Takeout at bcc98.com, so they can email that. It goes to all F&B leaders. Any one of us can pick it up, and this way all the members' questions go on it. They don't go unanswered. We also created a direct dial phone number, so they can call in one single phone number. It rings on all of our extensions in our offices. So this way, no matter who's in, we can pick up the phone. No call goes unanswered. I'd say the best thing that's working for us is we're using jot forms. If you haven't used jot forms in the past, they really, really work well. It's another avenue that members can go in. Our menus are there. They can fill out the menu, submit it, and it gets emailed to all of us, and we can fulfill those orders. We're doing it for lunch. We're doing it for dinner. We're doing it for our family meal as well. From the beginning, when we really conceptualized the way we wanted to do things, we really wanted to streamline the process to make it work very easy. So all the cutoff dates and all the times for most of our programs are all at the same time. So for instance, in order for chef to properly order all of his pantry items, he needs to know Mondays by 3 o'clock, and also Thursdays by 3 o'clock, in order to get the order in for Tuesday or Friday for us to assemble those pantry items to pick up for Wednesday and Saturday. So we really streamlined that, and we also rolled out a BCC Cares program. And what BCC Cares is allows any of our members to purchase boxed lunches and to send them to the hospitals. We've partnered with Johns Hopkins. We've partnered with St. Joe's. We were very generous. We had a very generous member that donated a significant amount of money to the club or to the hospital, and leaned on us to create those meals for them. Right now, we've served over 2,000 healthcare worker meals in the last 3 weeks. So that's really been very exciting. But the same process, in order to submit that order, at the same time every week, every day, and coincides with our pantry items. As far as lunch and dinner, we also have the family meals that we're doing. We work on a 10-day rotation on the menu. We're now in our 4th week of our rotation. With that, every day at 3 o'clock is the cutoff to submit your family meal order for the next day. So at 3 o'clock, we submit the numbers to chef and his team and to purchasing. They make sure that they have all their counts. We keep an eye on these counts throughout the week. So like, for instance, crab cake night is really popular for us. When we did crab cake night, the first night, we did over 200 covers just with crab cakes itself. So just keeping a system that works and keeping a system that's very robotic in place as we adjust with our times, as we adjust with what we're doing, staying consistent in those cutoff times, staying consistent, just really trying to manage all the requests, working smart, not harder. We're in uncharted territory in so many accounts, so just trying to find these processes that make sense and work in place. So between the direct dial phone number, between the direct dial email, and the job forms that also are submitted out through membership email and also on the members calendar on the website, they can click on any of these links. They have it at their fingertips and they can submit the orders, and it funnels into the entire F&B team. So we're all picking it up simultaneously, and it's working really, really well.
Hey Nick, which clubhouse are you using? Are you using both?
So right now we're working out of 5 Farms, yeah, we'll stay there.
And then it came through with the most questions that we had was about some of the safety procedures for the team members. So besides what our panelists did, was there anything that you're doing differently that you see as a best practice for some of the safety precautions and PPE for your team members?
Certainly. So, everyone's required to wear a mask. Obviously, everyone's required to wear gloves. When you change your gloves, gloves are being changed out all the time, and you must wash your hands. In the kitchen and in areas where we're working, there's tape on the grounds that are labeled, 6 feet apart, and working those stations and not crossing over in paths. We do a very similar thing. I think it was Columbia that mentioned and Congressional about a radio assisting for picking up orders. Same type of thing. We have somebody on the curb, owning cars as they come in, radioing into the kitchen, communicating that to the kitchen, and then having somebody run it out, and it's working. That's working really well. Just practicing, that social distancing as best as we can. Working with a limited crew, working with keeping the same players coming in every day has been very important for us. Yep, and actually Chef has brought in a really cool UV cleaning system that he started to do on Mondays, where he puts it in the kitchen and sanitizes the entire kitchen once a week. And that's proven so far we've seen really great results with that so far as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing those things with us. We all talked about working with limited team members. One thing that we've done at Chevy, I just didn't know if anybody else does, because everybody has such a limited crew, and it sounds like we're using the same crew, but something we've done is we put an employee on call. So built into our schedule as well, we have an on-call system. So again, if any team member feels that they're going to be sick or whatever, for whatever reason, right, they can enact the on-call so we don't run into any issues with the member being sick. Anybody have any different scheduling practices they use? Like, do you put any stipulations, Chris, on where your active team members can go? Are they the ones allowed to do the grocery shopping at home, or no, they can only come to work? And
it's really interesting you say that. We have had those conversations independently amongst ourselves of, we are the core group, we look out for each other. We want to protect each other. We're trying to be as safe as we can. We're going literally to work and to home and not straying too far from that in terms of going to the grocery store if we have to. So we've kind of got not written, but something that's understood amongst ourselves, that we're there to take care of each other and keep each other safe.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. I know that some clubs have enacted like an A shift. That's what our culinary team did for a little bit, is have one shift and then the other one. But again, reviewing with those team members, and then something that we did additionally as well, just kind of another layer. Each one of our team members has like a piece of paper or a letter that they carry, right, saying that they're a team member that's needed to work the takeout, that they keep in their vehicles just in case for any reason they were to be stopped by a local law. I mean, not that that could happen, but if it did, they at least would have something on them of identification saying this employee is needed to work or taking care of something at the facility at the club. Others have that as well, I'm guessing.
Yeah, we have it here.
Yep. That's good. Well,
sorry, the one thing I wanted to add is any of the employees that are coming, or sometimes we'll have some of the servers, the runners, we make sure that they don't take public transportation. So everyone that's working at the club drives their own car.
Mm-hmm. That makes good sense. I'm wondering, because a couple of people mentioned it, we have a little bit of time left. So if anybody has more questions, you can certainly send them in. One thing that I was investigating, and I'll get that person their answer back on, was, does this takeout in any way impact the club's 501c7? I don't know the clear answer to provide to anybody, but I certainly will circle back and send that into Kevin Riley on the NCCMA board to give us some thoughts. But calls or questions have come in about employee meal. And Steve, you mentioned, right, you were still cooking for the Greens team. Has anybody restructured their employee meal differently?
We have at Army Navy. Yeah. It's basically a package box lunch kit that they take and they go find where they want to eat. But there's no family meal whatsoever. It's you literally get a kit and everything's labeled of what it's inside, and they grab the one they desire, and that's their kit.
Perfect. Steve, are you doing something different? Are you still giving are you still doing a buffet and telling them to eat at their own risk, or?
So where it used to be kind of a hotel pan with a spoon in it, now it's a plate of food.
Yeah.
When they come to the kitchen.
Portioned off. Chris, are you guys even doing employee meal?
No, we're not doing any employee meals right now at all.
Not even for the Greens team? Are you just telling them that they have to bring lunch?
Yeah, they're taking care of themselves. So nothing is being produced out of the kitchen.
Mm-hmm. And Laura?
Yeah, we still do it to go, or family meal, and we do it in to go.
And you just do it in to-go packaging. Did you have to keep one person on in the kitchen just to handle that themselves, or just everybody pitches in with who's ever there?
It's whoever's there, kind of prepping for what we're doing for the week.
Mm-hmm. Steve, I'm sorry, did I cut you off? Did you have something? Oh, perfect. All right, well, if anybody has anything for the group, please feel free. You could unmute and certainly share, and we can try and do it that way. If not, I really enjoyed spending my afternoon on a Monday with all of you, and I really appreciate the panelists for being so open and forthright with what they were willing to share. And again, we will continue to try and pull together all the menus, all the operating procedures, or anything that these panelists have from their club. And then Kate Scott, our fantastic managing director, will make sure that the recording gets sent out, and we'll send that to the other managing directors, because I recognize we have others on the call from different states and different chapters. And just, you know, stay strong and everybody together to do the best that they can for their membership. Keep sharing the great ideas. Really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.